You know, the Palestinians have been fighting for 15 years to bring the ICC's attention to alleged Israeli war crimes, back in, including illegal settlements in the West Bank. And the ICC, under 3 successive prosecutors, has given this slow walk to those complaints. And it was always assumed that this prosecutor, Karim Khan, a British barrister who came in with American support, was very reticent, would never actually cross that red line and indict an Israeli official. But I think the overwhelming evidence of atrocities, the disproportionate attacks, the indiscriminate attacks, the collective punishment of the people of Gaza, the international condemnation, and frankly also the genocide case brought by South Africa at the other court in The Hague, the ICJ, that resulted in a ruling by the ICJ essentially that Israel had a case to answer. These have all made it untenable now for the ICC not to act. Now, of course, the U.S. position, as you've said, is that the ICC does not have jurisdiction because Israel has not ratified the ICC treaty. This is the historic position that the U.S. argued 25 years ago when we were drafting the ICC statute in Rome. But the U.S. was overwhelmingly outvoted, and the ICC has jurisdiction over nationals of countries that have ratified, so-called state parties, but also it has jurisdiction over crimes committed on the territory of states that have given authorization. And so, but we saw under the previous ICC prosecutor, when she opened investigations into Afghanistan that potentially implicated American war crimes, when she finally opened an investigation into Israel-Palestine, that the Trump administration sanctioned the ICC for its temerity in investigating acts by officials of non-state parties. And even when those sanctions were lifted by the Biden administration, the U.S. said, we don't believe the ICC has jurisdiction over nationals of non-state parties. But then Russia invaded Ukraine, and Russia began committing massive war crimes. And then when the ICC, and of course Russia is also a non-state party, and when the ICC began to investigate Russia and issued an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin, the U.S. celebrated that. So it's now for the U.S. to go back and say, well, we loved it when you did it with Putin, but we think you're crossing a red line when you do it with Israel. Of course, that's just hypocrisy.
He walked out in the gray light and stood, and he saw for a brief moment the absolute truth of the world. The cold, relentless circling of the intestate earth. Darkness implacable. The blind dogs of the sun in their running. The crushing black vacuum of the universe. And somewhere 200 animals trembling like ground foxes in their cover. Borrowed time and borrowed world and borrowed eyes with which to sorrow it.
And lo, for the earth was empty of form, and void, and darkness was all over the face of the deep, and we said, look at that fucker dance.
And Welcome to Heat Death of the Universe, a podcast that has no jurisdiction over anything, but is always ready to militarily invade whoever is most convenient at the time. It is 10:50 Sunday morning, May 25th, Korea Standard Time, year of our Lord 2024. Josh here. Tim over there, Mr. Tim. My father's name was Mr. Tim Buckner. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. It's always nice to be back on the only podcast that's willing to say that we disagree with Alan Dershowitz's stance. Not on the stuff that everyone else says, though. We just disagree on the fact that we think that talking dogs are cool. How you doing tonight, Josh?
I'm doing pretty good, all things considering the fighter jets keep flying over my house. Here comes another one right now. They're getting a little quieter. Yeah, there's always some part of in the back of my mind when I hear the military training exercises, or when they test out the air raid sirens sometimes, where I'm like, is this it? Is it going down?
Happening?
Was everyone I told to chill out about worrying about North Korea when I moved here? Were they right after all? And so far, so good.
I guess I do know that you're in Seoul, correct? Or there's about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm exact. If there were to be some sort of attack, I'm where it would happen most likely, I suppose.
Is Korea? Because that's the only fucking city I ever hear of in Korea, right? Is Seoul, right? Is Korea?
Yeah, I mean, I never.
That's the only city, really.
Kind of. There's another. The second biggest one is it's not really super well known by most people who don't have never visited Korea. I never heard of it. But basically, yeah, there's the stats on the population are it's a huge percentage of the country is packed into the Seoul metropolitan area. So yeah, it is kind of the population center of the whole country.
Yeah. I was gonna ask if it's Australia, where it's there's only a couple big cities that are along the coasts, but it sounds like there's just one big city, and then the rest is what?
I mean, there's there are actually a lot of medium-sized cities of a million people. There are quite a few of those actually, but
And is there a reason?
But yeah, for the most part,
is there a reason why people aren't calling for 1 billion South Koreans? Should there? It seems like they got a lot of extra space, right?
I mean, actually, I saw something in the news the other day where the president was laying out a plan to basically encourage people to breed, because there's just like in Japan as well, the population is in decline. People are just not reproducing nearly as much. So that is kind of a call for 1 billion Koreans, I guess.
And then I just pulled up the South Korean Wikipedia just to be really stupid as I was talking to you, because I was really just trying to get a lay of the map, was what I was really looking for. Where is everything?
There's Seoul in the northwest, and then there's Busan down in the southeast. That's the second biggest city.
Sure.
That's a cool city, actually.
But the one thing that I did notice on the Wikipedia here is it's talking about what defines the borders of Korea. And the first one I was like, okay, that's kind of racist. It says one of the borders is defined by the Sea of Japan. It's it's Korea. They're Korean. They're not Japanese. Get it right. Don't mix up which kind of Asians they are. But then I saw the other border is defined by the Yellow Sea, and that's just racist. You can't be saying stuff like that.
I don't know where the name comes from, but yeah, it's hard not to think that's some Western cartographer having a fucking laugh.
Yeah.
Well, the Sea of Japan thing is actually a controversy. There's lots of sort of water territory sort of disputes that are still ongoing. there's this huge thing that like Koreans are so obsessed with. There's this little island that's basically like worthless, but like it's
it's called Korea, folks. Anyways,
whether it's Japanese or Korean, and like I've heard like little kids just like scream like it's called Dokdo. Like, Dokdo is Korea. And there's like it's like little tiny kids just like getting into this like nationalistic fervor over this pair. It's like two like rocks in the ocean. I mean, I guess there's like some. It's like good like fishing area or something around it as well. But like, yeah, it's like a huge thing. And yeah, they do not refer to it as Sea of Japan. I think they just call it the East Sea.
Well, that does seem like
Koreans.
That would be important, because one thing I do know is that the Japanese are prolific hackers, so they would want an area that's good for fishing. I'm talking about, you get what I'm saying? Stealing people's passwords, folks.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Especially the young ones. I heard the kids, the Korean kids, they're good at computers. That's what I hear. I don't actually.
They've even got like very, very sophisticated. They've got YouTube channels. No other race does this.
I heard they invented eating food on camera in Korea. That's kind of crazy.
I mean, everyone is using the Korean word for it now, apparently. Speaking of international issues.
Yeah, of course.
Segue. From where I'm standing, this was like the biggest news of the week. I mean, maybe there was something bigger going on.
Can I circle back for one more thing? I forgot to ask. I gotta ask it, because this is one thing that drives me up the fucking wall. What do they call the country like in Korean? Like, do they call it Korea?
No.
I fucking hate that. I really do hate that. I hate when like you call it, when like we call it a different word than what they call it, because it's like, why can't we just fucking use the name that they gave it? Why do we have to make up our own name for it?
Yeah, I see your point, and actually, like that's a thing with in Korean language. Oh well, you might be pleased by what the name is in Korean. Hanguk.
Oh, I like that. I do like that quite a bit. I'm not gonna, say and why, but
that particular syllable is plentiful in the Korean language, and like I'm like basically like I don't think twice about it most of the time, but every now and then I'm like, wow, I'm just like saying slurs.
Yeah. Now I really get it too, because I'm like, oh yeah, because I always like I knew this from when I was young. I actually had a bunch of like Korean friends. I had a lot of Asian friends in general, but I had like Korean friends particularly. And it was like, I knew that like, you use the G word, specifically for Koreans only, right? So when people would use it for other like races, I would do like the Cotton Hill thing, and I'd be like, no. That guy's not a gook. He's clearly not a gook. He's Chinese. That's the thing I would do. But now I get it, because like it's the name of the country. Duh, of course.
Well, I think what it comes from also, like, because I always thought of it as like a Vietnamese thing, because in like all the Vietnam War like stories and like movies and shit, at least that's the slur being thrown about for when they're not calling them Charlie or whatever.
Right.
But that's just like more white man ignorance of just like, oh well, like my dad called the Koreans this, so why wouldn't I call the Vietnamese that as well? That's kind of what I imagine.
Exactly.
It gets more broadly used as a slur for just sort of East Asian people in general, but yeah.
Well, that's like
my title, not my title, but I mean I could be referred to as a Wayguk in a foreigner. So I get to apply it to myself.
So you're like you're the W word.
Sort of, yeah. And yeah, but it's in so many words. It's just like a really common like syllable that has like multiple meanings. Like a lot of times it's just meaning like sort of like place, basically. So there's like Thailand is like Taegu, and like anyway. But for the most part, most countries in Korean are just what that country calls themselves. So like they say Italia. Right. Or, well, actually, France, they just kind of say with like a sort of Koreanized English. But anyway, but like they don't say Paris, it's Paris.
Right.
And
yeah, see, I fucking hate that about English and like, yeah, in American, I guess, vernacular, I should say. I absolutely hate that we do that. Like Deutschland, like why don't we just call it that? It's fucking weird.
I mean, I think a lot of I don't know. I think other languages do the same thing, and it's really just. I mean, it seems to me it's got to be just sort of a part of like being imperialistic, because you're like no, that's not your name. Your name's this.
Your name is Toby. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
God damn, these planes are fucking loud.
I can't hear them. So anyway, so moving on.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and America is another one they give just a special Korean name to. Migu.
Okay. That's like
it actually means like beautiful land or like beautiful country,
sure.
Kind of, which I think actually is like comes from like Chinese actually. But anyway, what the hell are we talking about? What am I talking about?
Talking about Korea.
Korea Corner.
Yeah.
Korea Corner.
It's good. I like it. I like talking about Korea a little bit. I told you that with like years ago when we were talking about your podcast. I liked that like you guys talked about specifically stuff that was going on in Korea, because none of the other podcasts that talk about news and stuff really had the same focus. So I like it, even if that was very surface level conversation.
It is the great separator between this podcast and others. It's like, hey, we can talk about that stuff from Korea.
Yeah, because you're a W word. You're allowed to say it.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So the International Criminal Court is caused some drama.
Now, is this the Hague that I always keep hearing people talk about? Is that?
This is the very self-same Hague, where the court is located. And basically the big news was that one of the prosecutors, and a lot of people were misreporting on this. They were saying like that arrest warrants had been issued. They have not. It was just like requested. But anyway, 3 like high-level members of Hamas, which is what people are like leaving out, people who are angry about this because they don't want to, because they like that part, right? They like the 3 members of Hamas are being potentially arrested for war crimes.
I was going to cut you off there. I was going to say, what's not to like about 3 members of Hamas? Just that.
In addition to that is Netanyahu and I don't have his name in front of me.
Oh, Herzog or whatever?
Gallant. It's not the president. It's the defense minister, the guy who very openly said on like national television, "We're going to do war crimes to Gaza."
Sure. That usually will get you in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, he literally was like, not one scrap of food, one drop of water, any electricity is getting in there, which is a very clear war crime amongst all the other fucking ones that I've mentioned on this podcast. And anyway, so I mean, I don't really think anything will come of this, because like the way that the U.S. looks at the ICC is basically like they support it when it's convenient. Like, for example, less than 2 years ago when they issued an arrest warrant for Putin, they're like, yes, this is the right thing to do. We recognize this. We support this. And there's what's the spot the difference between I mean, it's so obvious. It's like it's not even really worth saying, but like obviously the U.S. is denouncing this. Like the line that I think just basically got like fed into the news cycle by AIPAC is no equivalence between Hamas and Israel. So that you just like could see, like I've seen people just like gather up like all the tweets that have like the exact same language, and highlight it, and then like people putting together like those like montages where like every news person is saying the exact same thing in the exact same language, including our demented president, who said it was outrageous. But then on top of that, like, we're just, openly acting like fucking mafioso, like people like threatening this guy and threatening the International Criminal Court. Lindsey Graham went on TV to basically say, like, this is a fucking outrage. He's one of the most despicable people. Like, the more I keep having to see his stupid ass, like, just like last week, maybe he went on TV and was like, we need to nuke Gaza, like, in all seriousness.
Lindsey Graham, right?
And then he went on TV and said we need to nuke Gaza, and then a week later is like, can you believe they're indicting people for war crimes?
Yeah. Well,
but what he basically said was, he said if they could do this to Netanyahu, we're next, folks. And it's just like, a lot of like I think some people in the whatever hall they were in, like, during this, I mean, I guess it was probably, whatever, somewhere in Washington, but like people were like cheering, like, yeah, motherfucker, you should be next.
Yeah, it's pretty good when it's just like, could you imagine if they did that to us next, and just everyone looks at Lindsey Graham and is like, who the fuck is us? Like, you're the one calling for nukes, brother. We're not on that team.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wish it was only him, but there, remember No Legs Man from the other week, like, all those, there's all kinds of guys just like him who are like just as bad, if not worse, at least in their like rhetoric. Yeah. But then also, like, so the prosecutor who submitted this request, like, he in an interview said that, like, he didn't name any names, but he said, like, high level politicians in America have said to him, quote, or the court, quote, was built for Africa and thugs like Putin. just coming right out and saying the I guess the kind of the loud part already even louder, but it's like, that's not for us. And it's so true. Like no one's even been like indicted or like attempted to be arrested by the ICC that was like from the West since the Nuremberg trials, like when this thing like was started, basically. And the only successful prosecutions that have happened have been like, to like African warlords. And, I mean, I guess some people might consider Russia part of the West and others wouldn't, but, I don't know. But like, they did issue the arrest warrant. Technically Putin could be arrested if he goes into certain countries that have jurisdiction.
Is it an extradition request? Anyways, it doesn't matter.
No, I don't think the ICC can extradite people for whatever reason. Right. It's really weird how kind of like little power they have, even though and how the US doesn't even technically recognize it. And neither does Israel, so that's why now the line, instead of just being like, this is outrageous, they're saying like, oh well, they don't have jurisdiction over Israel, which, like, they equally didn't have jurisdiction over Russia either, but they cheered that on when it happened, because Russia is also not like a member of whatever, like the ICC, even though there's like, I don't know, 120 something countries that do abide by it, but not us. And this reminded me of something that I did know about before, and I think I probably even talked about it on the podcast, because it's so funny to me, like, how what a rogue state the US is. And this is just one example, like very clear example of it, that's like enshrined in our laws since like 2002. There is an act, it's like informally known as like the Invade the Hague Act.
Hell yeah.
Something like that.
We should declare war on the criminal court, the international court. I think we have, according to this.
That's literally what this is. It says that if an American is held by the International Criminal Court, the president has authorization to instigate a military attack on the criminal court.
That's very cool, and it's very reassuring. It does make you feel good about America, because it's like, we're definitely not doing anything bad if we say that if the international cops ever try to get us for anything, we're allowed to just drop a fucking bomb on them. It definitely means we're on the right side of stuff,
Yeah, totally.
Imagine if you just declared that as a person. If you were like, if I ever get held in in a court or by the police, then like my people are allowed to come and kill everyone. That's just our official
totally
stance.
on the up and up. Yeah, so that exists, and that was like, I think that was something that came out of like, that was basically George Bush administration like covering their ass when they were like committing war crimes in 2002, which there was some attempt to hold certain US military figures like accountable to the ICC from, you know, our fun adventures in Afghanistan, and it got like basically shoved aside because the US is powerful enough to like persuade the ICC to back off, essentially. But that's why this is like kind of a notable thing, because the ICC is very much like going against what the US and / Israel want, obviously. And yeah, so like now politicians are calling for like sanctioning the ICC, and Blinken, rocking in the Blinken world, he was talking to like some like I forget what the group's name was, but this is basically some like coalition of like Arab Americans, and they were saying to him like, you know, we need a ceasefire and all this stuff, and he's just kind of like sitting there nodding his head, well, you know, but like, you know, just saying like basically telling him to fuck off. But he basically said like, if Palestine gets like granted statehood, that he essentially was like, it'd be a shame if Palestine got statehood, because then we wouldn't be able to fund the UN anymore, or like the world. I should have this stuff pulled up. It doesn't matter. Like basically, like one of the branches of the UN that like saves people from starving to death. So he's basically like, yeah, if Palestine gets granted statehood, it'll be a shame that all the kids that we let starve to death. Like, that's basically what it boils down to.
Just doing, like, the fucking textbook bullshit, like, mafioso thing. It'd be real bad to see what happens if Palestine got statehood.
Yeah, it's literally, it's really no different. The only way that it's different from, like, mafia shit is it's worse, because it's on, like, a grander scale. It's not just, like, killing a couple people. It's, like, killing thousands of people. Yeah, so there's that. I mean, I guess good luck to this prosecutor, but I don't see it really probably going anywhere. And basically, it's just kind of a matter of like waiting on these 3 judges to, and apparently, like, they've never denied a request for arrest warrant. Yeah, they've never denied one, or it's very rare, I guess. So if this one does get denied, it's going to be it's kind of like obvious that like this body, this ICC, is being like literally threatened by all sorts of powers that be. And like, I think I even mentioned like weeks ago, like a bunch of Republicans sent like a threatening letter to the ICC. Yeah, it's doing like the mafioso shit. Like, it would be a shame. You know, I wish I had the language pulled up here, but it doesn't really matter. And then there's also the International Court of Justice. They ruled recently, you know, kind of impotently. They're like, stop it, Israel. Stop doing that shit to Rafah. And, you know, so officially on paper, they told them to stop. Don't think it's made any difference, really. But Lindsey Graham was pissed about that, too. He told the ICJ they can go to hell.
Nice, yeah.
For their outrageous ruling and bullying of the self-defense masters of Israel.
Yeah.
Then like sort of in that same vein of just like people being like so openly mafioso, like there was this WhatsApp group got leaked with a bunch of like high level billionaires, basically, like all like, it's just funny to imagine them like just talking on like WhatsApp, like it's like, don't you have like some sort of like special like rich guy apps or something that are like quadruple encrypted or whatever? Like, you're just using like fucking Google, just using AIM to like plot out your evil plans. But anyway, basically, like, I'll just read some of this. American business leaders and billionaires set up a WhatsApp group to shape public opinion on Israel's war on Gaza, and urged New York City's mayor to use police to disperse a pro-Palestinian protest at Columbia University. This got reported in the Washington Post, and the group was created on October 12th, days after Hamas's surprise attack on southern Israel, to, quote, change the narrative on Israel, including by conveying, quote, the atrocities committed by Hamas to all Americans. And let's see, who among these business leaders? The CEO of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, Dell CEO, Michael Dell, Joshua Kushner, brother to Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner.
And I think he's cousins of Kushbaum. That's what I think.
Distant but related, yeah. And it looks like they held a Zoom call with Eric Adams, which was also like documented. It's just funny to me that like they just use like regular technology, but I guess they like that's the whole thing, right? Is like they don't mind, like, you know, they're dabbing on us, or like they just they don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. Like this story doesn't matter either. Nope. Like it's just like little podcasts like this are going to talk about it, and basically, I mean, I guess it was in the Washington Post, but still, it like doesn't matter,
right?
I mean, like they didn't do anything illegal, right? It's just like, but they're just like so blatantly showing like how things get done. They're like, yeah, a bunch of like rich guys put pressure on a politician guy, and then this is how things get done.
It isn't.
And it's like everyone knows that, but it's just so funny to see it so like well documented on like an app that everyone uses. There's just something funny about that,
right? For sure. It is kind of interesting because over the past couple of years, it's really become like just apparent, and it's apropos in a weird way because like his legacy has somewhat become tarnished because of like almost turning fully like shit lib idiot like over the Ukraine stuff, but like manufacturing consent and the Noam Chomsky argument on all of that is like taken such a major hit over the past couple of years because there's just no fucking need for it anymore. They don't even try to pretend anymore. And it almost makes it feel like, did it ever matter? Was it always just window dressing and like, you know, again, manufacturing consent, whatever you want to say, like that theoretically the idea behind that is that it's always been window dressing, but like it was even less important than it was, like, or less necessary than on its face it already was like a fucking joke. It's like a complete farce. And they could have just been doing this the whole time. Because no one's going to fucking do anything. You know, it is just putting that final fucking button on it to be like Chomsky's shit just blown out of the water. Like I said, his legitimacy just was like fucking made to look incredibly foolish. The idea that you know, how he basically tarnished, like I said, his reputation on the idea that he was like like so fucking in the bag for Ukraine in like such a weird fucking way. And then this just makes it even more just like the guy's just blowed the fuck out and looks like a fucking old fool as he like slowly dies. And then I don't know if he was on the flight logs, but soon enough people are just gonna be like, and he was on the flight logs. You know what I mean?
Oh, actually, I think he was. I don't know why. Like as soon as you said that, it reminded me of feeling like I heard that somewhere. Yeah. There's something came out, but I don't know what I'm seeing now is okay. I mean, he responded. He actually said something about it. Mr. Too Damn replies to all emails. Replied in an email and said, First response is that it is none of your business or anyone's. Second is that I knew him and we met occasionally."
Oh yeah. It's none of your damn business, but also we were friends and we hung out a couple times.
Oh God, it's just like this is almost like too perfect. He was flown out with Woody Allen and Soon Yi to have dinner with Epstein to get all together.
Yeah.
That's rough.
That's not good. That's not good.
He said, "What the hell?" I guess I didn't look into this before. I just kind of like heard it in passing. But like he goes,
it tickled the back of my brain. That's why I even mentioned it. I was like, I swear he was on the list. You know, everyone was on the list. But yeah,
he goes on to say, if there was a flight, which I doubt, it would have been from Boston to New York, 30 minutes. I'm unaware of the principle that requires that I inform you about an evening spent with a great artist. I guess, is he referring to Epstein?
He's
or
talking
Woody
about
Allen?
Soon Yi. She's truly the best artist of them all there. But yeah, the master of the pedophilic arts, fucking Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, is there an art to that? I don't know. But yeah, like the point about manufacturing consent, I agree with it. I think it's like it's even more unnecessary than ever, though. I would say, like, as, you know, the internet has exploded in the way that it has, and is just constantly infecting everyone's brains 24/7. Like, we can't. Like, I think about that a lot because, like, I'll like see shit that's like should be like in, you know, 20, 30 years ago would have been like on like everyone's TV screen, and then it's just like something that I just like swipe by really quickly on like a short fucking video feed. What was it? I saw something the other day. It was a guy. He was like floating in the air playing a fucking grand piano.
Yeah,
he was like 300 feet in the air, like suspended by a fucking balloon or something. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I just like swiped right by it, and I was like, wait, like this would have been like on the nightly news or something, like, you know. I'm not even saying like it's a good or a bad thing. It's just like it's a weird thing to think about. But anyway, my point is just like, yeah, it's harder to like capture people's attention, and the stuff that does, it's like it gets organized by groups like this, like these WhatsApp group of billionaires. You know, they're like the article goes on to say how this group, like, they are the ones who put together that like propaganda film that showed like, you know, all the atrocities committed by Hamas, that were like they were like screening it like everywhere. Yeah, they just like pumped in a bunch of money basically to steer the narrative. It says the specific chat was shut down by one of the people's staff, who said the group's aims were moving beyond its initial objectives. So they're off to the next thing, I guess. They're done with that particular shaping of the narrative. All right. Two quick hits here just on how Israel continues to self-defend. So there was this story I saw a little while ago. The IDF drops leaflets on Gaza featuring pictures of dozens of Palestinians, including children whom they claim are affiliated with Hamas. And you like see a picture of it. It's literally like 5-6-year-old boys with like, and it looks like a wanted poster. And they're basically saying, like, again, it's the mafioso thing. They're basically saying, like, you should turn yourself in, little kid. If you don't, we're justified in dropping a bomb on your head. It's like insane. It's completely insane.
Right.
Like it sounds like something that someone would just make up, but like, from what I could tell, this is very real. I mean, you know, I would love to be proved wrong on that it's not real, but as far as I can tell, it's real. It's real. And it's been, you know, reported in like several, you know, sort of mainstream publications. It's not just unreliable, useful idiots like the Gray Zone or useful idiots for that matter. But so that sucks. And then I saw a picture the other day, cool IDF guy who's probably got a diaper on under his like badass military garb.
Hopefully.
And he's holding a burning book, I think, and he's in a university library, one of the universities that they hadn't completely turned to dust, I guess, even though I think every university in Gaza is destroyed now. No, sorry, he's not holding a burning book. That would be crazy. Yeah. He's holding a book, but behind him, the books are on fire, burning books. When I think about Jews and burning books, I don't know, that puts me in a certain mindset, a certain Reich-like mindset. So it's a little weird that they would choose to take this like Insta-worthy fucking shot and put it out there in public. Yeah, just another symptom of how fucking far gone these fucking lunatics are. Just seeing some of the comments on this. They're really leaning into the Nazi shit, aren't they?
It's pretty good.
And it made me think, like, someone wrote, like, how is this destroying Hamas? And I was like, well, they're in between the pages of the book.
Right. They're hiding in there. And obviously it's Hamas's fault for using books as, I guess, literary shields and forcing them to bomb the books. You know, like...
Truly.
It's disgusting. It really is.
I saw this get posted around a few places, and someone just posted it with like a kind of long excerpt from Fahrenheit 451. Pretty apt. Yeah, that's the temperature at which books burn? Is that what that's supposed to be?
Yeah.
That seems like
whatever.
Wait, what?
450.
What does that? That can't be it. That seems like seems like it would be way lower to burn something, but maybe not.
I think that's it.
Yeah, right? Okay.
Yeah, 451, right? Yeah.
I actually never read that book. Maybe I should. Maybe I should pick up one of the classics I haven't read before. Ray Bradbury from my hometown, or one of the towns I lived in back in the day.
That temperature does seem high.
Yeah, it does seem high, right?
But it does also kind of make sense. Fire's hot. Have you ever touched it? Have you ever touched fire? It's hot. Oh. Here's the other part about it. Is it says that's the temperature that paper will auto-ignite. So that means that's the temperature that paper will spontaneously turn into flame. So not necessarily saying that it burns at that temperature, because anything could burn at a lower temperature if you add fire to it. But that's the temperature where paper would turn into fire on its own.
That's cool. Yeah. That's even more like evocative of an image.
That's
cool.
Metal. That's very metal.
Yes. I remember being momentarily really fascinated by spontaneous combustion.
That was your incubus phase.
Taking like a... I did not have one of those phases. But...
You were not an incubus fan?
I remember... No.
Okay.
I just remember like a biology teacher or something explaining how spontaneous combustion would theoretically happen, like on a cellular level, but like apparently nobody still understands how it happens, or if it has really ever happened. So these weird cases where they just find like basically like a pile of ash like in somebody's house and like nothing else is burned. It's weird. It's weird shit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll start sleuthing on that again. Go back to my roots.
Right.
Get nowhere, of course, but
you can figure it out.
Anyway, crink.
Okay.
Crink is the word of the day. It's the Pee Wee Herman fun word of the day. Crink. When I crink, you crink, we crink. I guess shout out to somebody on the True Anon Reddit.
The Crink Man
showed this. Class War and Puppies. JFK assassination experts on the TrueAnon subreddit. Now, this is a kind of a nothing story. I just thought it was funny how close this is to. So it's an acronym for China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, the new autocratic axis of evil, as reported by a bunch of like mainstream outlets. Yeah, it's just changed. Like if Russia was Hushia, we'd have a full-on slur on our hands, and I don't think that's an accident.
It's not. They did it on purpose.
It also is just like it's also really just a funny sounding word that I think it reminded me of like a Tim and Eric sketch or something. Yeah, like spaghetti, crink. Yeah. Just like it seems like a nonsense exclamation. Yeah, that's the new axis of evil. It's called crink now, which is like very unthreatening because it just sounds like when you even like remove the slur, how close it is to a slur for Asian folks, it just sounds very non-serious, very unthreatening to me. So that's all the news that's fit to crink. I mean, this thing is just very. McDonald's Happy Meals, mental illness awareness, weirdness, as I put it. I guess the only reason I thought this was like notable is because it's like mental health discourse is so kind of weird, and it's weird to see like a giant corporation like getting in on the action. So like it like automatically feels suspicious to me in some way, or like insincere. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, I mean, their message to kids is basically like, it's okay to be sad sometimes, which is like, that's good, I guess. But just something weird about like people getting their mental health awareness from McDonald's. You know what I mean? Like, isn't that kind of weird?
Yeah.
But basically what they did was the Happy Meals, they have that little yellow like smile symbol on them. They removed that. So that kids can replace it with whatever feelings they have. Like, it's okay to not be happy. And then I think certain McDonald's locations even gave them like different symbols that they could like attach to the Happy Meal box that were like different feelings.
Yeah.
So McDonald's is at the forefront of mental health awareness.
I was like trying to think because I was like, I swear I remember that like they did an actual like sad meals. Like McDonald's did a sad meal, but I don't think they actually did.
That sounds like an ad busters campaign.
It does. The closest thing I think I found that was like Wednesday Addams sad meal. Anyway, I don't know. For some reason I thought that there was a thing. There was some kind of thing where they did like
Did McDonald's have a Wednesday Addams tie-in?
At some point, but I don't think that was real.
That's weird in itself.
But I'm trying to remember there was something where they had done they did a different kind of meal that was like a play on it. Now I'm trying to remember because I think it might have been like Cactus. It was Cactus Jack something because it was what's his name, Aesop Rocky. Anyways, doesn't matter. Continuing on.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like a little bit of a nothing.
Sure.
Story.
But it's just like, don't tell me you're not allowed to tell us how to feel, old man.
So related to mental health as well, I had like these two things just put side by side, and so there's a Reddit called "Fuck You, I Quit."
Sounds good.
Which I may be a member of. I can't even remember, but I still either, for whatever reason, see their stuff. And someone posted a funny picture. There's a picture of a mint, a lifesaver, a Band-Aid, a single starburst, a little squishy like toy, but it's like so small that you could not use it as a stress relief squishy thing.
Makes sense.
And like a less than fun sized Snickers bar, it looks like. And then a rubber band. And so then alongside this was given to them by their boss, they said. It says mental health survival kit. Mint to keep you fresh. Lifesaver to keep you afloat. Band-Aid to heal hurt feelings. Starburst for a burst of energy. Squishy to squeeze out the stress.
Yes.
This thing you would put between like your thumb and forefinger. Like, it's so small. It's so sad. This picture makes me sad, even though I'm laughing. Snickers to remind you to laugh. Rubber band to stretch yourself beyond your limits. Hashtag break the stigma. So this is just like a lower level version to me, of like the McDonald's Happy Meal thing. It just seems very insincere and pathetic, but it's like dolled up in this way that like you can't like really get mad at it because it's like, well, we're trying to do mental health awareness. Like, what do you want from us? But it almost seems like this is like dabbing on us, to me. Like this, but then at the same time, it's like I could see some like just well-meaning but stupid boss putting this thing together, thinking like it's a really nice gesture to the staff. But like, I don't know, it's like, how about you give me like a paid leave or like health insurance, or I don't even know what
do something about the stress level to be like, I know there's a lot of stress. It's so hard. Like, you can fix that. You're the boss. You're in charge of the stress level. Yeah. Right.
And it's just like, here's some weird symbolic, it just looks gross. It looks gross. It looks like grubby.
Right.
Like the candy looks like it was like laying around for a long time.
Well, the fun part about it is, as you said, a lot of it is like symbolic in a weird way that's very funny, because it's like just a play on words. So you're not actually even getting me a real solution to anything. You're just giving me like empty platitudes to be like,
squishy thing. Like, it would have been better to give them one of those like stress balls or whatever. Like, that would actually have sort of a use.
Right.
Here's a symbolic stress reliever that actually will just make you more angry to look at.
Yeah. Or the lifesaver to keep you afloat. And it's like, I don't actually need to float because I'm not in water. Also, these are candies, so they're not going to help me in any way. What the fuck?
I'm drowning and I get to taste the fucking rainbow or whatever. I guess that's Skittles. Never mind, but whatever.
Still not gonna help.
I get a starburst. I get a burst of energy so I can tread water for a minute longer before I drown. All right, this story I thought was pretty funny. I want to read a little bit from it. In the New York Post, it's titled "The Gouda Bad and Ugly." They didn't even put the bad. God, they're bad at their fucking job. Yeah, it's about a NYC law student addicted to cheese went to a $6,000 per week rehab for a cheese addiction. And it also ties into Zionism, Israel, because she was stressed because she was running some sort of Zionist club at NYU, and then her stress, she relapsed into her cheese addiction when the anti-Israel protests flared up. And she just looks like a very annoying person. There's just like pictures of her holding giant blocks of cheese. And this is like post her quote unquote cheese addiction. So she's like, it's supposed to be like funny that she's like in a Whole Foods or whatever, like holding up pieces of cheese. I don't fucking know. But anyway, her name is Adela Kojab. It sounds almost like a cheese itself. Have a slice of Adela Kojab.
Oh yeah, it goes really well with nuts and fruits of different kinds. It's good with some fig jam with it as well. Adela Kojam. Anyways,
and then the first line of the article, then they get it right. They write, "It's the Gouda, the bad, and the ugly. A Manhattan law student was so hooked on cheese, she had to go to rehab to end her insatiable appetite for dairy," she told the Post. Adela Kojab said her Camembert cravings began during her junior year at New York University in spring 2018, when she binged almost daily on the, quote, cheapest bricks of white cheddar and Parmesan she could find. "I stopped by either Morton Williams or by Whole Foods and would just buy cheese. That's not the cheapest cheese you can find, lady."
Nope. Yeah.
You'd be going to like the dollar store to get the cheapest cheese.
Have you ever sucked some feet for cheese?
Or at least Aldi. Yeah, like the Bob Saget in
yeah, but I specifically did the
Half-Baked,
the censored version that they would play on Comedy Central.
Oh, is that what that was?
Okay. Have you ever sucked some feet for cheese? That's what he says.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess I never. I think I saw that movie once, like in the theater when it came out, and I never watched it again.
Yeah.
But I that's like the most memorable part for me, because that was before it became annoying that Bob Saget was like, "I am the guy who swears a lot." It was like novel in 1995 or whatever. It's like, holy shit, Bob Saget just said "suck dick" for weed.
Yeah, it would be very funny if it was like. That, because a lot of people, not me, obviously I would never question the, respectability of a dead man. That's not something I would do. You know me on this show. I'm really respectable. A lot of people have postulated that like the whole reimagining of Bob Saget as a raunchy comic was something that he did intentionally post America's Home Video and was not necessarily something that you would like say was true about him prior, when he was coming up as a stand-up. I don't know. What do I know? But like the idea that he did that line in Half-Baked, and then the reaction that it got naturally, like from you and people like you, where you're like, oh my god, it's Bob Saget saying "sucking dick." That's fucking crazy. That's when he was like, that's the perfect pivot for me to like not be bullshit anymore, is to be nasty. And yeah, that'd be very funny if that was the genesis of it.
I think I heard though that he was kind of filthy as a stand-up before that, and that's what was weirder to him, was that he went from that into being like America's family man or whatever. Sure. But I don't know exactly. I wouldn't be surprised either way.
I think I would believe the opposite. I've had like people who I know from comedy and stuff tell me the opposite, but like I said, I couldn't say that I know from I was a child at the time, because he's like,
he definitely leaned into it.
Yeah. Anyway,
and America's Funniest Home Videos, of course. He was like America's goofy dad for a while.
Right.
Back to this cheese broad.
Yeah.
Morton Williams, I don't even know what Morton Williams is. It sounds high class to me, but I don't know. Or by Whole Foods, and I would just buy cheese, and I would literally just eat a block of cheese with my hands, said Kojab, 27, while sitting on the floor of her Midtown apartment alone in the dark. It was the only thing that would make me feel somewhat whole. Aw. The feta fiend said she devoured an estimated 5.5 blocks of cheese per week. It's like so specific to the point that it sounds like a lie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like when you throw in the half.
Right.
Like, why wouldn't you just say 6 or 5?
Right, exactly.
Anyway, along with savory Parmesan crisps stocked in her pantry. Her pitiful attempts at a salad, she said, amounted to eating Parmesan with Caesar with lettuce on the side. Oh, dark times. I kept telling myself it was actually cheaper to just buy some blocks of cheese than to get a $12 salad from Fresh & Co. I was telling myself I was making an economic decision as people with addictions rationalize. Then it shows a picture of her being like, I don't know, heavier than she is now.
Yeah.
And it's like next to a bunch of cheese. It seems
right.
Oh, God.
Seems.
Dr. Neil Bernard, author of The Cheese Trap, an adjunct professor of medicine at the George Washington University School of Medicine, explained that people like Kojab become addicted to cheese due to the high concentration of fat and salt in the food. Really? That's why we like it? Genius?
Right. Well, does this
Along
article...
with a protein...
Oh, are they going to talk about casomorphin?
Casein?
Yeah.
I don't know how you say that.
Yeah.
They say that some protein that's like specific to cheese that can get people... Well, okay, this person says get people mildly hooked.
Right.
Which is funny, given that they're like... She's trying to make it sound like she was like hooked on Oxy or whatever. Cheese contains, speaking of Oxy, cheese contains, this is still the good doctor speaking, cheese contains opiate chemicals that attach to the very same brain receptors that fentanyl or any other narcotic attaches to. It doesn't mean that it's like opium, man.
Right. Well, that's the...
all kinds of shit attaches to like opioid receptors in our brains. Right. But anyway.
Yeah, that's the casomorphin thing that people like to bring up. Casomorphin attached to like protein fragments the same way that opioid peptides do or whatever. And it's, again, as someone who works in pharmacy, it is, as you said, it's like there's a ton of things that do similar things and they mimic the same reactions at the cellular level. It means absolutely nothing. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
It's this is one I want to bring back that I thought about the other day, and people should say this more in general, just so, for tips for the listeners. This one, and I think you're allowed to say it even with woke. It's not illegal. Is you say when someone like says some stupid bullshit that's like irrelevant, you're just like, and if my uncle was a lady, she'd be my aunt, because you're talking about a different thing. You know what I mean? And like I like that phrase. I think it's poetic in a way.
It's good. Definitely works. Gets the point across. The cheese doctor finishes by saying some people refer to cheese as dairy crack. Do they? Kojab says her addiction stemmed from stress. This is what I already kind of brought up. She was the president of a Zionist student group called Realize Israel, at odds with other student activists and professors calling on the university to sever ties with Israel. The dairy diet quickly wrecked Kojab's health. Her weight skyrocketed to 172 pounds. She stopped menstruating for 5 months because of her cheese feasts and became at risk for type 2 diabetes. Aren't we all at risk?
I mean,
I guess that...
By being American, yes.
Then her mom sent her away to rehab, which is hilarious. My mom said, you're not okay. You need to go away for a while. Family, oh my God. She said the family intervention that saved her. Saved her from what? So she attended a 2-week wellness retreat in South Carolina, which cost $6,000 a week, helped the Asiago addict gain control over her eating disorder. I love the picturing the writer of this article just loving the fucking alliteration with the different cheeses, thinking they're clever as hell. Instructors and counselors taught her the basics of how to order and prepare healthy meals. Good God, I hate this. I hate these people. Count calories and consider healthier snacks like blueberries or popcorn in lieu of Havarti. Her weight is dropped to a string cheese slim 123 pounds, in part aided by Ozempic.
There it is.
Yeah, right.
There's the whole article. Bitch went on Ozempic
to deal with her to deal with her diabetes risk.
Which is, I mean, it is kind of cool when you think about it, because it is like basically saying that people get as addicted to food as they do to drugs. And Ozempic is literally like the first drug that has been produced that can make you not be addicted to drugs in a weird way, right? Or like at least similar. So it's like, okay, we're almost getting to the point where it's like you could like cure alcoholism with a shot. Because like that's the next step, right? But yeah, this whole ass article could have just broken down to like, bitch got on Ozempic and now she's can't shut up about it, basically.
Yeah, but then we wouldn't have all those fun little cheese alliterations.
That's true. That's true.
She also sued NYU in 2019 for anti-Semitism. They don't really go into that much. Well, there's a link. I don't care. These days, she said she reaches first for a lighter mozzarella over a Vermont cheddar or Parmesan. Oh, good for you, girl. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And during a visit to the Ideal Cheese Shop in Midtown East, she smiled while nibbling on samples of Gruyere and Prairie Breeze cheddar with crackers. I dabble, but not in the way that I used to before, she said, adding the recent waves of anti-Israel encampments at Columbia and other universities prompted brief relapses. When I'm really stressed, this is the final line of the article, by the way. When I'm really stressed, I'll have a block of cheese, but it doesn't happen that often. File under addiction, cheese, Israel, NYU, Palestine, weight loss.
Jesus.
Oh, good God. And there's 243 comments below this, which I did not look at, and I'm not
That's
going
not
to
enough.
now, but I bet they're really
There should be more.
I bet they're really fun.
There should definitely be more.
It's just so funny that she's just still fucking like nibbling on cheese in the last line of the
Right.
Like she's a severe fiend, a feta fiend.
She's never gonna actually kick the stuff.
No, I mean not if these fucking pro-Hamas fucking rabble-rousers keep at it. They're putting in her a perpetual state of fear and stress.
Right.
She's fearing for her damn life. She's afraid of what they might do to the to the high-end cheese shops in Manhattan.
Yeah, that's true.
How could she sleep at night with that kind of fucking fear? All right. Now we have some just kind of like a couple of funny ones here in a row, I think.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that one I sent you earlier today. That's a funny one.
Oh, right.
No, I was joking. Let's hit the funny ones and let's do it. That can wait.
Yeah, we can save that one for...
That's an evergreen one, you know?
Yeah, it kind of is in a way. Cops being corrupt and horrible, that's not really relevant next week. Only right now. Let's see here. Anti-sex beds made for upcoming Olympics. This one is also New York Post. New York Post is good for this kind of bullshit article. This is also kind of like a nothing, but I like the headline so much. But yeah, anti-sex beds, which is, a term I've never heard before, have arrived at the Paris Olympics.
Yeah, no. This was at the last Olympics. They talked about these too. They're built out of they're like a house of cards. And if you tried to fuck on them, they're going to collapse. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even see that part of it. Maybe. Yeah, they did start this back in 2020 for Tokyo. Yeah, I'm seeing a picture of it now. It does look like it may not withstand the Olympian thrusting.
Right, exactly.
But it's also just like very small. So they're like, oh, it's like too small for two people. It's like people can definitely fuck in that amount of space. Like
primarily, I mean, I don't know about you, but primarily I did most of my sex on like a single size mattress, right? Like that's when you're poor and you're in a shitty situation.
This is even smaller than that, apparently, but it doesn't look that much smaller. But anyway, it's also like, what the fuck do they think they're stopping? If people are going to want to, like, fuck each other, they're just going to, why wouldn't they do it on the floor? Right. Yeah. Or, like, anywhere?
I guess the idea, right, is that it's like, you be too embarrassed that you broke the bed, or they make you sign a thing that says you won't break it? I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
It's more just, like, proof of life, you know?
They're saying the twin size Oh, I guess it is just a twin size. It says there's no room for the competitors to sidle up together.
Which is
bullshit.
That's a fucking lie.
Bullshit.
They called it the beast with two backs for a reason. It's like one person
Right.
taking up the space of two people taking up the space of one. That's the whole point.
Also, even if you wanted to be like, oh, well, they wouldn't be comfortable to sleep in a bed that size, even though that can be easily done as well. But it's like, we're not talking about sleeping. We're talking about fucking.
No.
So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But I just thought the headline was funny, basically. But yeah, apparently it's like a big problem that all these like Olympians who like they spent their whole lives like honing their bodies to be like these perfect machines. Like, of course they want to fuck each other.
Right.
And who cares? Like, remember they made a big deal about that in the whatever the Olympics were in Russia, the ones that were like all like there was all sorts of fucked up shit about those Olympics too, but they were like, it's basically like a little like Olympic town or whatever. It just became like a big fucking fuck pad orgy zone, and it was like, so what? What's the problem? I mean, maybe it's the thing where it's like the coaches or whatever of the athletes are like, you know, they're like getting really into like kind of like no fap kind of like pseudoscience. Like,
Right.
You can't like get rid of your essence or it's going to make you perform badly at your sport.
Dude, my football coaches told me that, you know, and this is in the 2000s, like the 2010s. I had football coaches that would tell you, like, save it for the field, right? My coaches didn't say don't fuck, but they would be like, don't fuck until after the game. This was not like...
They're probably saying don't jack off, too.
Sure. But yeah, you know, I guess, yeah. Anyways, I didn't think of it that way because, you know, obviously, whatever. But that felt like that's what they were saying. You're probably right, too. And this was like I said, this is in the 2010s. This is way before, like, all of this bullshit now. That, like, oh, you know, saving your seed or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's a choice quote here. Table tennis player Matthew Said previously told the Times of London that he had a debaucherous time at the 1992 games in Barcelona, Spain, saying, quote, I got laid more often in those 2.5 weeks than the rest of my life. It's like, good for you, table tennis guy. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then it says, it's unlikely cardboard beds. Oh yeah, they're basically made of cardboard, I guess.
Right.
It's unlikely cardboard beds will stop horny Olympians from fornicating, with one competitor claiming a hot tub orgy took place one year. The Mirror also cites a U.S. two-time gold medalist saying, quote, I've seen people having sex right out in the open, on the grass, between buildings. People are getting down and dirty. File under athletes, Paris, Summer Olympics.
Right.
So yeah, the futile anti-sex beds. Speaking of sex, this weird little thing I found, some like Christian lunatics talking about how in vitro fertilization is evil and sinful because it inherently involves pornography, according to them. And but the title of the article that I found says IVF bad because them babies is made out of porn gislets, says Family Research Council. This is in something called the Wonkette, which I've never heard of, but yeah, just this one lady said, from the Family Research Council is here to sexplain. Pornography is an integral part of the IVF process, and the husband's use of pornography is typically how sperm is obtained. That's not good for a marriage. We know that pornography goes against what God tells us about the dignity of men and women and the marital act. I mean, does she not understand there's more than one way to fucking get some fucking jizz out? I mean, she's right that most likely most guys are gonna like jack off using porn, but like, I forget where. I think I reacted to this somewhere, but I can't find it now. But I was just saying like a bunch of like filthy, like imagining all the different ways they could obtain, like snowballing. Like the wife could just like snowball the dude, and then he could personally spit his own seed into the test tube. Like, would that be more godly? There's no porn involved.
Sure, so there's no porn and there's no like science, you know.
Some cream pie drippings gathered up in the petri dish. Anyway, that's just one goofy ass person taking things to new extremes, I suppose. And there was some like sort of like political implications with that somewhere, but like whatever. It's
Right.
I don't know, somehow Ted Cruz is involved. But basically like the article's point is like, I don't know, these like sex scaremongering people on the right, like this is like the inevitable logical conclusion of like where their kind of crazy puritanical shit ends up. It's like even in IVF is sinful now.
Well, yeah,
like,
it always has been.
Yeah. And how do you say this broad's name? The Australian on Twitter who has like, she's holding like a fucking energy drink.
Amy Therese.
Therese.
Amy
yeah.
Therese, yeah.
I guess I found this, but for some reason I thought you found it.
I might have, actually.
But I guess it was me. Men who eat pussy are spiritually lesbians, she
no.
said.
Oh no, you froze.
Which just reminded me of, it was like Nick Fuentes said that the gayest thing is heterosexual sex, right?
Yeah.
What was it exactly?
No,
Do you remember? Is that basically it?
That's it. He said the gayest thing a guy can do is like try to impress women. Basically, it makes you gay because you're trying to impress women. Yeah.
Okay, so this is not just Amy Therese. This someone else, Glyptic Philae, whatever the fuck, writes, there is likely a direct correlation between men who do this, I guess they mean eat pussy,
right,
and then parentheses 99% of leftist men and modern leftism. It is my suspicion that there is something in the vaginal fluids that is capable of estrogenizing the body, cuckolding the spirit, hence 1,000-year prohibition against it. Huh?
That's right.
And then, so they're quoting her saying men who eat pussy are spiritual lesbians. And then another person adds onto this scientific exploration, unprotected sex too. The vaginal fluid gets onto the testicles and penis and absorbs into the body, causing the same estrogenic effect.
I know that's right.
It's true.
Yeah.
This is how leftists are created. We got to stop it.
Fellas, is it gay to eat and fuck pussy? I would prescribe yes. It seems so. Where's that thousands of years of prohibition against it? There was a point where it was illegal to eat pussy? Where's that coming from?
I don't know what the fuck that person is talking about. And they're idiots. So they like wrote it even like, they said like 1,000 year, like specifically 1,000 years. But yeah.
Right.
So yeah, there's more morons.
It's pretty good. I like Amy Therese, man. I like her a lot. Her stuff is really stupid in a fun way. And I like the background story of her, that she was like a Chapo reply girl who got slighted enough to where she turned right wing. That's cool. That's fun, you know?
Oh, is that her origin story?
Yeah.
I know I didn't. Yeah, I felt like I kind of figured out who she was a little like late in the game.
It's like, you know, it's a mix. You could say like, oh, did she like necessarily directly react to like getting slighted, or was it like my grift isn't catching in this world, so I'm going to like transition, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know,
could be both or either. Yeah.
It's like, did you take it personally, or were you being? But either way, it's funny.
So last week I was going to report that Rudy Giuliani is off the grid, can't be found, which he was. I guess Arizona authorities were looking for him, and so it seemed like he was like fleeing from getting served papers for some sort of like, he was involved in some sort of election rigging bullshit in Arizona. But they found him recently at his 80th birthday party, served his ass there, and then found that Rudy Giuliani is selling coffee with his face on it, because that's what people want to wake up to in the morning. It's fucking grim
America. Yeah.
Goblin man. Yeah, there's just this this was on the Truidad sub. It just says Rudy's doing great, and then the sling the beans, big dog. And it's just him like doing like a kind of infomercial thing where he's selling like 3 different types of Rudy coffee. It has like pictures of him when he was a lot younger for like different blends. Anyway, it's just a very like transparently stupid grift to help fund his legal fees.
Yeah, that Rudy coffee is like, it's really tough, and it speaks to the thing too, where it's just like the fair trade coffee comparatively. It's like the coffee companies that are willing to just like slap your name on it and who cares, and you just grift out the coffee like through Rudy Giuliani coffee. It's like, damn, like how fucking bad are they, exploiting the slaves that are picking that coffee? It's probably not great,
Yeah. Someone else I saw just said that it's probably just Folgers like packaged in there. But yeah, Donald Trump gave a speech at a NRA rally, and he, I guess, floated the idea of a 3-term presidency. But it was kind of like he was invoking FDR, like saying like how FDR was president 4 times. But it's like, yeah, they changed the law. But also, he was saying to the crowd, like, are they going to remember us as a 2-term or a 3-term presidency? And I think what he's trying to say there is like, all he's really saying there is like, I won the presidency that Biden is now,
right,
operating.
Right.
That's all he's saying.
Did you like watch the video of this?
I didn't. I read like, yeah. Okay.
I watched the video, and yeah, like what he was saying was, yeah, he was like, it's fucking Trump, so it's tough because he like, he kind of just freeforms it and he bebops along and talk and says like what he wants or whatever. But then the harder part is like seeing articles and people write about it, especially from like the left wing, where they just like, they refuse to just be fucking fair and give like an honest read of what the person is saying. And what he's saying is, he's just like, FDR, he served 4 terms. Or in the context of what he was talking about FDR, the New Deal, and everything, and he was saying going into his 3rd term. Oh, FDR, he served 3 terms. 3 terms, you can't do that anymore. But what about me? Maybe they'll think about me as a 3-term president? I don't know. And it's exactly what you said, where he's kind of saying like, this was my term as well, but they stole it from me, so I'm going to get a second one. And it's very clear that that's what he's saying. But then to give this like fucking fake read of it, where you're like waving your hands and you're clutching your pearls and being like, oh, Trump is saying he's gonna try to circumvent the laws and serve 3 terms. Oh my God. No, it's like not what was happening. And that's the part that's fucking bullshit. I'm just like, I hate seeing that. And it is the real answer as to why that fucking Biden is gonna lose, is because pearl clutching bullshit does not read. Real people will pay attention to this and be like, what are you talking about? Like, that is not what's happening here. Just give an honest read of it, or don't say anything at all. But the fact that they give like this fucking fake, like contrived pearl clutching bullshit, like that's the part that like makes it not work. And I was hearing some things they're talking about like, oh, what's the polling looking like? What's happening? And a big problem in the polls that's tough, and this is, stop me when you've heard this one before, is that they say, like, the people who don't pay attention to the news are less inclined to vote for Biden across the polls, across the board, no matter what, like, from Republican even to Democrat, left-leaning, undisrupt, everything. The people that are less engaged in watching the news say that they're less enthused to vote for Biden. And so the political argument is, well, once the election really gets going, once the campaign really gets going, and then more people are paying attention, then of course they're going to pay attention and they're going to switch over into the camp where they're going to vote for Biden. Because right now, the people who pay attention to the news, they're going to vote for Biden, but the people who don't, they're not interested in voting for Biden. It's like, again, like I said, tell me when you've heard this one before. Once the campaign gets going and those idiots who don't want to vote for Biden are actually paying attention to the news, they're going to realize that they need to vote for him. This is fucking Hillary Clinton part 2, right? It's happening exactly again, thinking that like, oh, once those dumbasses start paying attention to this stuff, then they're going to know that they need to vote for Biden because Trump is so bad. And it's even worse because you don't have the looming specter of the negativity of a possible Trump presidency. What you have is even the people who don't like Trump, you can point to like, do you remember the 4 years when Trump was president? And they'll be like, yeah, it wasn't that bad. And it's like the 4 years when Trump was president, nothing really happened. Because if you don't care and you don't pay attention to the news, when Trump was president, how different was it? How much worse was it during the 4 years that Trump was president versus the 4 years that Biden has been president? Even especially if you look at COVID, like when it started through when it ended, it's like both of them. And then you look at inflation. Okay, actually inflation was like much worse now under Biden. Like if you're an idiot who doesn't pay attention to anything, it doesn't really come across that like it was all that bad comparatively. So yeah, this is not looking good.
Which is why they have to do stuff like this, which is why it's like, this is the democracy's at stake,
Right.
etc.
But again, I think that this is
typical shit.
Again, I think this is the opposite of working, because those people they're not going to buy into it. They're not going to believe you. And when someone just watches the video, they go, "You're full of shit. That's not what he said." So it's not helping you, to try to, because again, the people who aren't paying attention to the news, they're less likely to read this article than they are to just watch the video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then during the same speech, the other headline that came out is like, Donald Trump's glitch during NRA speech raises questions. So they say that he basically, for 30 seconds, stopped talking. So like when you see it written, you picture like the shit that you've seen Biden do many times, which is like he's mid-sentence and then he just like trails off and like gets that far off look in his eyes and like starts mumbling and whatever. That's not it. I watched the video of this so-called glitch, and look, it sounds so much like we're like rabidly defending Donald Trump. Let's just throw it out here to be very clear. Donald Trump fucking sucks. He's a moron. He thinks that Joe Biden is a leftist. Like, he's a fucking idiot. He sucks. He's dangerous, sure, but so is Joe Biden. He'll be just as bad on Israel as Joe Biden. Anyway, this is the stance of this podcast for a long time, I guess. I guess I don't have to really say it again. But anyway, I am going to, on this particular thing, I think it's very stupid of them, and I've said this before, to try to point out that Donald Trump's really the senile one. He's the senile one, guys. Look, he stopped talking. But what he does is he stops at a very like appropriate moment, and there's music playing while he's giving the speech. The music starts swelling in this dramatic way, and it's like lined up with what he's saying. He's saying all this fucking bullshit about like the grandeur of America or whatever. I can't even remember exactly. But he like stops and he looks very like solemn. And he just doesn't look confused. And then he picks up from exactly where he left off as the music is like sort of swelling again to like make it sound even more dramatic. And it is not a fucking senile moment, but yet you've got these people on Twitter, someone that at Biden's wins writes, breaking, Donald Trump just glitched out and froze at his rally tonight. He is clearly unfit for office. Retweet so every American knows Trump is senile. It's like, you've got Joe Biden's name in your fucking, you've got him in your Abby.
Right.
Like, who are you talking about? It's like, there is so much plentiful fucking, if they consider that evidence of senility, then what the fuck is all this shit that we have Biden on camera doing? Like, it's just, the hypocrisy is like astounding to me, and I can only like laugh at it because it's so absurd. And it's like you're only inviting comparisons of who's more senile then. So then it just becomes a dementia off, the fucking dementia Olympics. But yeah, people were trying to like latch onto this as like, look, Trump's losing his mind. It's like, there's better, like, if you wanted to show, like, Trump is, like, kind of losing it, I would play the clips of him, like, rambling on about fucking Hannibal Lecter and shit. That's, like, more senile than what he does in this video clip, where he, like, solemnly pauses while music is playing. And then that was his response, I guess, later. He's like, I was listening to the music. I was, like, waiting for the music to stop, like, die down or whatever. Because if you watch the clip, the music gets really fucking loud. Anyway, it's just like the desperation. It's like exactly what you were saying about how people are trying to spin the third term thing. It's the same thing. It's just like this pathetic desperation that just it's all like working in his favor, like in the long run, which is like the ultimate irony of it all. Working in Trump's favor, that is. Yeah,
no, it's a fucking, again, like, who are you gonna believe? The media the media, the disgusting creeps that work behind a fucking keyboard and a computer screen and are scared to go outside, or your lying eyes as you watch the video and see what actually happened, right? And that's the problem that they keep forgetting. And we talked about it, or, just now when I was saying about, like, the uninformed voter or whatever. It's like, dude, like, it's not a thing. You're not going to win by, like, getting those people to, like, get into you and believe in you, right? Like, you're just really not. You have to accept that those people are not going to become, the uninformed voter is not going to just transition into becoming an informed voter. You have to meet them where they are. And they, for some reason, forgot how that works.
I mean, I would say, just like broadly speaking, femly speaking, I think the people who know anything or have any real kind of like power in the Democratic Party, they're just going to do what they're good at, which is tactically losing.
Sure, yeah.
Throwing the fight, but in a way that looks, that they think doesn't look like they're throwing the fight. I'm of the opinion now, like maybe a few months ago, I would have said like, oh, like, it's probably like 50-50 who's going to win the presidency. But if things don't like sort of dramatically shift in some key ways, it seems to be like it's Trump's election to win at this point. But I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be surprised by anything that happens at this point. But like, if you are just looking at the numbers or whatever, it appears that Biden is doing pretty bad and declaring war on international bodies of justice. People don't really like that. Maybe not the majority, I would say, and all the other things. All the other fun things Joe has been up to the last 4-ish years. Sort of on the same level as previously mentioned Amy Therese. It's the same level in my mind, at least. Twitter personality, quote-unquote journalist, Eve Fartlow, as she's more commonly known.
Especially in these
people.
parts.
Yeah, because she likes to huff her own flatulence. I don't even know how that got started. Like, I was kind of late to the party on all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I just accept that's her nickname.
That's not her nickname. That's her name.
Right. Well, she's like a really obnoxious Zionist and has been, like, before the issue sort of got even bigger since October. She's always been. And she tweeted something kind of funny, very like making herself seem very self-important. She writes, so I think this is her responding to the fact that like so many people kind of hate her, like maybe even more than usual nowadays. But that's, because we anti-Semites are all just swept up in the in the anti-Semitism of not wanting kids to have their heads blown off for no reason. But anyway, she's trying to say basically like, I'm going underground and I'm going to do all my important journalism work from the shadows. So she writes, I'm like Batman. I live in my cave and do my fighting under veil of night when nobody else is watching. I don't need to be at the what? I don't need to be at the ball. I don't need you to like everything I say. I don't need you to see me as a hero. You just said you're like Batman. I don't need any of that. I'm just doing this because I have to. I'm not taking back anything I said or explaining who I am or why I'm different. If you're lucky enough to see behind my mask, then you can figure some of that out for yourself. But first you have to gain my trust. Don't try me. And then... what is that emoji? I can't see. All right, here we go. Oh, it's a bat and then a Star of David.
It's not good. It's not good.
So yeah, that's Eve Fartlow smelling her own farts, just like Batman would.
Yeah, that's normal. It's a fart man. Everyone knows fart man.
I think it's as good of a place as any
I think so.
to call it a day. I got a recommendation. I saw the new movie Furiosa. It was very cool. I had, high expectations because the previous Mad Max movie was incredible. I'd say it lived up to it, which is pretty hard to do. I kind of want to go see it again. I was in a distracted state of mind when I was watching it for, whatever personal reasons. So I wasn't fully engaged, but even in that not fully engaged state, I was like having a great time watching that movie. And Anya Taylor-Joy kicks ass. It's cool to see her like becoming a big star, I think. So yeah, just a fun action movie. I mean that really makes it sound so reductive, but whatever. People know what the fuck Mad Max is.
Yeah.
I think you told me you haven't seen like
I haven't seen any
Fury Road.
I've never seen a single Mad Max movie. I haven't seen any of them.
I've never seen the original ones. I've actually only seen I guess now the most recent two, the modern day ones, and
sure, they're
worth watching. So I recommend them.
I think I already recommended Bodkin, right? Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
There's not really anything else that I have to recommend, I guess, I guess just, if you see someone and they seem stupid and they don't pay attention to the news, don't tell them to start watching TV or watching news or reading. Just tell them that, like, Joe Biden's got a bitchin' Camaro, Just, that's it. You don't need to. And obviously listen to that song, Bitchin' Camaro.
Maybe you probably want to co-sign this secondary recommendation because I think we've basically said it on the show before, but I started rewatching Bored to Death, and it's really fun, real damn fun.
That's a great show.
It's a good television show.
I like to call it a swell-a-vision show because I find it to be swell.
Some reason, I don't know, I thought you were going to go in the direction of like swole, but okay, I like that. It's swell. We have a Discord. Check out the Discord. Find the Discord link in the episode description where you find all the other things, where we are on the internet, the website, the Twitter, the whatnot, the other things. But I would say number one, join our Discord and say some stuff there. Also, I've started
That's
posting...
important, actually, real quick. That is important. Join the Discord. Yes, get in there, right? Join it, obviously, number one. Then say stuff. That's the hard part, right? You join it, but then you don't say anything. That's weird.
Yeah. I'll start putting more provocative things in the chat there. See if that lures anybody
Have you
out.
ever seen a grown man's penis? I'll just post that right now.
Live. Shit, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. Now I'm just thinking about grown man penis. Anyway, yeah, check out that stuff. Fuck, I was going to... Whatever. Okay. And Tim, you are on a podcast.
It's called QNTR, kind of. Technically, that's the name now. Anyways, you can follow the website, violent_people on Twitter, violentpeople.co on just the internet. That's it. That's the one. That's everything. It feels weird because there should be a third thing, but there's not.
I guess it's technically three. There's the podcast, there's the Twitter for the podcast, and then there's the website that hosts the podcast, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
All right. Well... Like Nick Fuentes, Amy Therese, and Eve Barlow always say, in unison, of course, there's nothing more homosexual than heterosexuality. Now get on your spiritually lesbianic knees and make a meal of it. Good night, good luck. Good morning, Vietnam.
And good head.
Till I'm dead.
a rash and inconsistent faith you've had. Loving your true self and your true love. Clown town, no shoulder. Clown town, no anything. Until single angel. Until no exit. Your true father smashed his hands through the glass. Fell out of the privileged life of his stream. Your true love has drunk herself into not being able to pay her rent. Or keeping her own word to her own self. Your true brother has betrayed you over and over. Looked you in the eye. Your true self has become weak and alone and annoying. And a true, ridiculous, dumb ass. Clown town, revealing nothing. Clown town, a flock of goods. Clown town, a single angel. Clown town, a big dumb kid. Clown town, no shelter. Clown town, no anything. Clown town, a single beauty. Clown town, no exit.
The first voice recording was made in 1860. It was a 10-second fragment of the French folk song Au clair de la lune recorded by inventor Edward Leon Scott de Martinville. But who will make the final voice recording and when? What will it be? Who will hear it?